Hey guys, I'm Sun. I'm a privacy and security researcher, and you're watching The Privacy Guides. In last episode, I mentioned why Adobe makes me sick. That being said, I do want to disclose that I absolutely love the apps that Adobe makes, which is very conflicting. But nonetheless, I just find that the way Adobe installs their stuff on our computers is totally unacceptable. And there really are no perfect ways of mitigating this, but there are some things that we can do. So in today's episode, I want to show you guys how we can make sure that an app is not running in the background. It's not a silver bullet, but it's pretty insightful. I'm going to show this in the context of making sure Creative Suite is not running. I'm also going to show you guys to which extent Adobe is running, even though we quit apps, even when we quit Adobe apps, I meant. And I'm kind of going to show you guys how to create a little helper that can be used to kill apps. Kill in the context of Unix means shut down immediately apps. So there is reference material for this. I'm going to link it in the description. And this will be using the terminal, but it's a level 2. It's not something that is very difficult for you guys to follow, even if you're just getting started. So first things first, when I open an app such as Adobe Premiere, by the way, I'm running Little Snitch on this computer, and I've disabled or actually deleted all the rules that have to do with Adobe so that you guys can see what's happening. Other little disclaimer, Adobe Creative Suite forces users to authenticate with the Adobe licensing servers once a month. I'm not sure how this works yet. I might update you guys in the comments or something once I figure this out, but for the time being, since we have Little Snitch, which is an application layer firewall, I'll link to a Little Snitch episode in the description. I am just going to deny all of this Adobe stuff from connecting to the internet. And as you can see, there is a lot. I really wished Adobe would separate the licensing stuff from anything else. Adobe, if ever you listen to this episode, that would make our lives so much easier. If I don't want to have to deal with the Adobe Cloud at all, and I just want to pay for your apps and do things and make sure that it is as private as possible, if you could at least compartmentalize the licensing side of things, it would make things very nice. And you could ask users, hey, are you planning on using the cloud, or you only want the licensing stuff to be done on the internet? That would actually kind of solve it for me here. So right now, as you can see, this doesn't really help me know what the hell's going on. I mentioned some node processes that were going on in the background. I'll show those to you in a second. But nonetheless, I am just, preventing Adobe from connecting to the internet, and that is it. Then I would go about creating an episode or whatnot. So for the time being, if we close this and quit, before I do this, if we look in Activity Monitor, as you can see, we're seeing two processes that have something to do with Adobe. So two processes. And I'm not sure what the broker one is doing, but essentially if I go here in Premiere and I quit Premiere Pro, okay, then as you can see, it's trying to log whatever. Again, Adobe, it would be nice if we could just disable all of the telemetry. Anyways, so deny. So as we can see here, the Adobe broker is still running. But is that all that is running on our computer? Is that all? Well, it isn't. So this is what today's episode is about, how to make sure an app is not running in the background. So a few caveats, just this has to do with the syntax of running these commands. But yeah, first things first. Interesting. So when you run this command, I won't run it on my computer because this is actually my real computer, so I cannot stage things like when I'm using the demo computer. So I won't run this command because I don't want you guys to know exactly what I'm running, but essentially running this command, you would just take this, copy paste it here, press enter, and that would output a whole bunch of different launch agents, launch daemons, and user level launch agents. So you might be asking yourself, Son, I don't know what a launch agent is, and I'm cool. That's not cool. That's not what I meant. Jesus, Son. I mean, that's cool. Let's jump into what they are. Launch agents. those are things that run within the user space. So when you log into the computer, those are scripts, apps that will run in the background in the context of the user. Launch, and then those here within this path are for all users. Here, this is just for a specific user. And launch daemons or demons. I think it's daemon, but I like saying daemon because they're running behind without us knowing. Anyways, okay, that was stupid. Anyways, launch daemons or daemons, whatever. Those are things that run with root privileges, so super administrator privileges. If you run this on your computer, you might notice that there's a lot of stuff that's going on and you've never perhaps been even aware of this because nobody really knows this stuff. So here we can see that there is a lot of Adobe stuff. That means that Adobe Creative Suite, when you install it, just using defaults, it installs a whole bunch of stuff on our computers. And this is what makes me sick. There's no way for us to use Adobe in a privacy conscious way. Now, you might notice here the X that is flickering like crazy. That is actually Adobe trying to connect to the internet nonstop like a freaking psychopath. It's like hitting it nonstop like this. This is another thing that makes me sick. I mean, I can disable things using Little Snitch, but then I have this thing flickering there like crazy. Adobe, if you're listening to me here, perhaps you could try to connect to the internet. And if there is no internet, I mean, ideally just stop trying. And at the very least, you could use exponential backoff to try at a frequency that gets slower and slower over time, so that maybe you're looking once a minute, not like every freaking tenth of a second, which really drives me nuts. Anyways, nonetheless, launch agents, launch daemons or demons or whatever those are. We can see here that this, by the way, for those of you who don't know, this is what we call a bundle identifier. The bundle identifier for the Adobe stuff is com.adobe. Now, Adobe could be really sneaky. That's why I said that this is not a silver bullet. They could hide under alternate names. Now, as you can see when you're running this, there aren't that many things there unless you've installed a whole bunch of apps that have launch agents and daemons. So anyways, we would probably notice anyways, but okay, com.adobe, that's what we're looking for. And now we can go about disabling app launch agents and daemons or daemons. Jesus, I don't know. Maybe let me know in the comment how the hell I'm supposed to say this. Anyways, if I run this, you guys would want to change this part here. So the string, instead of com.adobe, it could be anything else. I mean, say you wanted to do it for VirtualBox, it would be org.virtualbox. Anyways, and then when you press enter, I'm going to have a whole bunch of could not load specified service. That's cool. I've already run this. This is my real computer. You guys might have a few as well, and it's okay. You can just go about ignoring those. What that does is it tells macOS to override those launch agents and launch demons or daemons in a way that it will not run them when your computer starts. So this is actually a way, oh, I forgot a step here. We have to type in our password. So since this is my real computer, give me a second here. I typed in my password and then enter. So as you can see, the reason why it's asking me for my password is this here does not require root privileges or super admin privileges. This does. That's why some of them had succeeded, and this one asked me for my password. Okay. Now, next up, in finding all of the nasty shenanigans that app providers can make us deal with, if we go into the extensions, actually, I'll do it the long way, system preferences. Then if we go into extensions, here we can see that, okay, I'm using Fantastical. This here is Core Sync. So by default, Finder extensions is enabled. You would want to disable this, and you would want to go through all of those other things here. I won't do those in case I'm revealing stuff, but essentially anything that has to do with the app that you're trying to make sure it doesn't run in the background, you would want to disable this stuff. And last but not least, in the context of Unix, there is a command called kill. This allows the user to kill specific processes. So if I go about just clearing this here, in the context, I made this generic, by the way, so it applies to any app that you guys want to kill. But if I just type this pgrep with those specific arguments here, and then I just type Adobe, enter. Now, all of this stuff, all of this is still running on our computer. By the way, I had already disabled the launch agents and daemons related to Adobe, but just running Adobe Premiere will make them all come back to life. And there is no way that I'm aware of to prevent this, but I really feel uncomfortable when all of this stuff is running on my computer. If I use Adobe, I'm gonna take a leap of faith and take for granted that they don't have keyloggers, that they're not logging activity that has nothing to do with the Adobe Creative Suite. I'm probably being a little naive here, but that's as far as I can go without dropping the Adobe Creative Suite. More on this at the end of the episode, by the way, but that's a lot of stuff here. So if I bring this little window smaller again, what this script does, it essentially will take a string argument and it will list everything that is running that has to do with that word. So Adobe, etc. And it will ask us if we want to kill those things, and then we'll just say yes, and it is going to kill them. So you just have to take this whole block here. And by the way, sorry, this is assuming that you're using Z shell. So if you just run this here first, it will say ZHS. If you guys have Bash for some reason, you would want to put this in the Bash version of that file. Let me know in the comments if this is your case. I could help out in the comments. So then we just want to take this whole little piece here and paste it there, press enter. And what that has done, if I just type tail 40 and then the .zshrc, by the way, that's a file that runs each time you open a terminal session in the context of the Z shell. And that here, actually this here is a function that we added. I call those, how do I call it? A helper. Anyway, so if I do this, you'll see that at the end of my .zshrc file, I have this kill function. Now, if I type kill apps and then Adobe, before I go about doing this, let's just have a look. So we can see here that there is this one thing that is reported by macOS's activity monitor. As we saw in the terminal, there are a whole bunch of other scripts that are running. So if I press enter, it will show all of this stuff. Now, Adobe is a pretty unique word. You would have to probably be careful if you're using a word that could relate to more than one app. But in this context, and if we bring this a little bigger, wow, we have to bring it really way bigger. But anyways, let me see here. Yeah, all lines that start with a number, those are the lines that we're interested in. Anyways, nonetheless, for Adobe this works. You would want to make sure that everything here makes sense. So number, okay, Adobe Premiere, good. Now moving down, oh, other number, application support Adobe, okay, that's Adobe as well. Library, Adobe, okay, good. And then last one, utilities, Adobe, okay, cool. Yes. Enter, again, blocking the lens, sorry about that. Okay, and then it says done. As you can see here, the Adobe process disappeared. And if we were to run this here again in the context of Adobe, there is nothing. So what has happened here is we have just, and by the way here, perhaps you're seeing this, it's not flickering anymore. So it also killed those background node processes and all kinds of shenanigans that were running in the background. And to my knowledge, they don't come back to life unless you open an Adobe app. So as I said, oh, actually this here is, I just went about doing this. I have this here. Yeah, so to my knowledge, the Adobe stuff doesn't come back until you open an app. Knock on wood, I really hope, sorry about that for the mic, by the way. I really hope that Adobe is not doing really shady stuff like, you know, using the clipboard to track, you know, stuff that we're doing, perhaps knowing what else we're doing. The key takeaway here is that a lot of apps run in the background And a lot of these apps can do a lot of weird and shady stuff. Always install apps that you trust. In the context of Adobe, I kind of trust that they're not incredibly evil, but it is really invasive the way they're doing things. I hope Adobe will listen to this and somehow change the way that the installers work. I absolutely love Adobe products, and I really absolutely am comfortable paying for those apps. Even though it's expensive, the value that we get out of Creative Suite as creators is incredible. Now, it just makes me sick that we have to accept such a great trade-off that is all of this stuff running on our computers and having to allow those apps to connect once a month. That's cool if the process was open source, transparent, in sorts, if I could know that it is really only the licensing stuff that goes out. But unfortunately, a lot of apps, when we block them in Little Snitch, they have buffers. They're just gonna keep on aggregating a lot of information about what we do. And then as soon as it can connect to home, it will just like upload it. So a lot of this Little Snitch stuff we're doing is not helpful if we have to undo it once a month, for example. Okay, so by the way, that's the end of the episode in the context of getting apps to not work in the background. I am just going to fill you in on a few things. First things first, I did try DaVinci Resolve. A lot of you mentioned that in the comments. Unfortunately, it totally doesn't work on my 2015 MacBook Pro. It's incredibly inefficient from a CPU and GPU perspective. In Premiere, for the exact same result, and maybe I don't know how to do specific things in Resolve, but even just running 2 layers of videos. CPU is about 60% on Premiere and like 260 to 300% when using DaVinci Resolve. And GPU is about 20 on Premiere and about 50 on DaVinci Resolve. The problem with that is that my computer, one thing, when I'm going through previewing, I guess, the content, I mean, it's super, what's the word for this? Man, I'm missing words here. Jesus, son. Anyways, it's not fluid. Like the playback is really choppy in DaVinci Resolve, and it is like super nice and perfect in Premiere. And the other thing is, since a lot of CPU and GPU stuff is being used in DaVinci, my fans start blowing like crazy, and I have studio monitors, which I cannot hear very well anymore. So that just doesn't make sense for my specific use case. I hope I'll, stumble upon solutions to that. Final Cut Pro X might be a better alternative, but yeah, breaking out of the Adobe ecosystem is hard. I just hope there was a way of using it while being privacy conscious. Now, the one last little thing here that I'm just going to put in, if any of you are still listening, is just explaining what's going on here, because I know some of you have mentioned that you want to get better with command line stuff and want to understand how this works. So I'm just going to fill you in on a little bit of context, not much, but yeah. What's happening here, the ZHS RC file, as I said, is a file that runs each time we open a terminal session in Z Shell. Within that file, you can have aliases or functions, and that's a pretty powerful thing. I won't go into great detail, but this here is essentially a shell function. And within that function, I am saying, well, if $1, and just so you know, if I go in kill apps, $1, those are the arguments. So this here would be essentially $0, this is $1. So I say if $1 does not exist, that's what this -z means. Well, print out the usage and return 1. Return 1 means like exit with an error. Now, if $1 is set to a string, it prints out finding apps that match Adobe. And then pgrep is something that allows us to list processes that are running on our computers. If you don't know what one of those commands are, you can type man and then the command enter, and that will print out the manual if a manual is available. So that's very useful. And then you can use the arrows to kind of go down and see, okay, well, Sun is saying, -A. You can also use the cursor, by the way. So like -A, include process ancestors in the match list. Oh, what's -F, match against full argument list? You know, well, okay, ignore case. And then once you're done, you press Q and that brings you out of that. So that's a really useful thing when we're trying to learn those different commands. Printf, as I said, is just a way of printing stuff on the screen. Read is a way of essentially reading a user input and storing it within answer. So it says then if the answer, so that's a string, equals yes, well then run this command here. So what's happening here is it's taking, again, pgrep's output, and with those specific arguments here, I don't think those are arguments. I'm not sure how those are called, but I'll call them arguments anyways. This, I'll just show you what it does actually. Well, Adobe, there's nothing in Adobe right now. So let's, Apple perhaps? Yes. So that essentially outputs all of the unique identifiers, so the IDs of the processes that relate to that specific string. So Apple, there's a lot. Adobe, there is nothing because we just killed it all. And then it pipes it, so that takes all of this, the output of this command, it pipes it, so it sends it to xargs. And that's a way of running a specific command on all of those, using all of those inputs as an input to this command. So I'm piping all of those IDs into sudo kill, and sudo kill will essentially kill those IDs, so kill the processes. This here is essentially saying that I don't want to see the output of it in case there are warnings or things like that. So I'm just essentially hiding. Oh, actually, sorry, this is totally not true. What I'm doing here is that I'm taking all of the error, so std error and std out, so standard error and standard out, and I think 2 is standard out. Maybe I'm gonna say it's one or the other, and I'm taking the 2 and I'm merging them, sorry. And then this here it says, so run this command and then run this command. So if this one fails, or if you guys type Control-C to stop it, it will not output done. And by the way, I wrote echo here. Perhaps I could have, maybe I should have written printf. Maybe I'll consider updating this, but nonetheless, printf and echo are essentially the same. By the way, if we write man echo, we'll see what this is. And if we write man printf, we'll see what this is. So printf essentially is a formatted output, whoops, as where echo is unformatted. So that's all I have for you today. I hope this gives you a little bit of context as to why I was freaked out about Adobe and why we should really be alert when installing apps on our computers. A lot of stuff happens in the background that we aren't necessarily aware of. And this kind of gives you guys hints as to how to make sure that those things do not run without you guys knowing. So yeah, I'll see you soon. Take care, guys. Bye.